This part deals with the last element of the governance equation, social mobility. During the 13th to 17th centuries, governance became very interested in security. The construction of nation-states in Europe, for example, was achieved due to the ability of each nation's particular ruler or monarch to provide protection. Then in the 18th and 19th centuries, productivity caught the most attention of social leaders. As a result, the great economic theories and many economic institutions, such as central banks, emerged or were perfected throughout those centuries. However, over the past 120 years, governance's foremost concern has been social mobility. What's social mobility? Dota defines it as a set of changes in opportunities, income, lifestyles, personal relationships, social status, and ultimately class membership. Moreover, 21st century governance has the fundamental paradigm of pursuing that individuals' ability to produce wealth and increase their well-being has independence of origin. Hence, social mobility, upward or downward, occurs in a scheme of meritocracy, based on the effort and talents of each one and not from where or whom someone is born. This, in turn, means that everyone is provided with the elements that allow them to carve their own well-being. The World Economic Forum produced the Social Mobility Index for the first time in 2019. Following their methodological style, they created several pillars around some central themes such as education, health, social protection, job opportunities, institutional development, and so forth. The index takes values from 0 to 100. Let's see how the selection of countries in social mobility fares. The societies that we perceive as more prosperous have greater social mobility. At the top, there are countries such as Norway, Sweden, and the Netherlands. At the bottom, we find underdeveloped countries such as Cameroon, South Africa, and India. The world average is 62, and more than half of our sample is above that average. While there are no big surprises, it's worth highlighting a couple of situations that the index reveals. The first one has to do with China, the second world power. Despite its accelerated growth, it still has a significant gap in social mobility, being below the world average. A relatively similar case can be observed in Saudi Arabia, which did especially well in productivity. However, it begins this path of social mobility with a mediocre score. In regional terms, we find no surprises. The European Union, the OECD, and even the whole Europe and Central Asia region have the best ratings, above 70. On the other hand, countries south of the Sahara and Asia, and the Arab world have poor scores. Let's finish looking at the association between social mobility and productivity. On the scatter plot, we have the ordered pairs that represent each country's social mobility index and the GDP per capita. At the top right, there are countries like Norway with high social mobility, associated with high productivity. At the bottom left, we find countries like Morocco, with low productivity and social mobility. The correlation coefficient between these two variables is 0.79, representing the association between productivity and social mobility. Moreover, it's difficult to find countries with a high level of productivity and low social mobility. This would be the top left quadrant, which is further evidence that growth in productivity translates into social mobility and that it's rare to be a wealthy society without social mobility.